Well, back here from Antigua and Barbuda as we get a look at the full-time highlights from what was a hard-earned 1-0 Cuba victory in this pivotal six-pointer in Group A of the CONCACAF 2026 World Cup qualifiers. The storyline was Cuba dominating the run of play, but very little incision throughout that first half. A lot of settling for long-range efforts because they were struggling to build through Antigua and Barbuda's surprisingly secure back line. There were some moments where maybe the Bene Boys flashed some promise on the break, but nothing definitive that ever troubled Raiko Rosarena. And eventually, as Cuba continued to twist the screws, the set pieces began to mount. Free kicks, corner kicks, and then yellow cards also accrued to some of Antigua and Barbuda's players. The issue was accuracy on crosses in the final third. You wondered if maybe that would just hold them back. Alessio Rabaio here had the best moment of the match to date for a Cuban side that couldn't quite play through. And then as the first half wore on, eventually Cuba began to rack up some corner kick opportunities. The biggest one you'll see in a matter of moments was the moment of difference here today. Rabaio winning a corner kick for Cuba, and then as the half wore on, after this nearly disastrous moment for Pedro Bravo, you saw him get on the score sheet. This cross going out of play, but about 3-4 minutes later, after this mad scramble in front of goal where Jorge Aguirre made a menace of himself, and Pedro Bravo had another long-range effort deflected, he finally provided the spectacular. In stoppage time of the first half, a lovely first-time hit runs onto it perfectly on the corner kick and giving Cuba the 1-0 advantage just before halftime. And we come to find out that was the moment of difference. Bravo's first international goal in just his 5th cap. We went to halftime with Cuba leading, and from there, most of the chances broke Cuba's way in the second as well. This was the biggest moment for Antigua and Barbuda. The free header for Sean Tomlinson, which he just heads wide, and ultimately that was their best chance of the match. You saw Cuba continue to create in the second half, but not enough to trouble Taj Moore. A lot of excellent interplay here. This is probably the best chance of the second. Diego Catasus bashing it wide, but ultimately nothing to show for it other than this effort that clattered off the crossbar from Willian Pozo. We wondered if that would be a moment they look back on with regret. I don't think they will unless it comes down to goal difference in the group standings. And then this late, a definitive red card. Leroy Graham, a forearm to the face of Martin. 17-on-17 violation. He is sent off just moments from stoppage time, and that is where things finished. A rather controlling Cuban performance, despite maybe not creating all of the chances they would have hoped. They provide the definitive moment through Pedro Bravo's late opener in the first half. Here's your look at the full-time stats, and it is rather dominant for Cuba, outshooting Antigua and Barbuda 19-4. I think the moment, or the stat Unielis Castillo may have displeasure for is the only 3 shots on target from 19 shots, but dominating the ball with 74% of the possession. And that puts them in a favorable spot now to potentially advance out of Group A. They head into their final match against Bermuda at home in what could define the complexion of the group at the end of proceedings. Meanwhile, for Antigua and Barbuda, they crash out of the competition. They will play their final match on the final day at Honduras, but their chances of qualifying come to a close here this afternoon. So for our terrific crew from Antigua and Barbuda, I'm Sam Goldfarb saying so long, where it finishes Cuba 1, Antigua and Barbuda 0. It is Bravo's opener in the late stages of the first half, which makes the difference. Have a great rest of your afternoon, everyone. Cuba prevails in 1-0 fashion.